Men over 40 stare out windows at night, wonder why life is so long. Hello, welcome to Examining Fictional Heroes and the Authors Behind Them. My name is Wayne Browder, and I am over 40. I heard that quote many years ago that was really butchering it. Comes from something somebody wrote. Couldn't find it, no matter how hard I tried. Another quote from Benjamin Franklin. Most men die by age 30, but are not buried until age 80. Why am I saying these things? Today, besides being out here enjoying the post-storm and pre-storm weather, I'm discussing something that we all go through, and which I hit on briefly early in the series: burnout or mental exhaustion. It's a very real and very difficult thing. It's like depression in a way. It's very hard to get over. I deal with it. I deal with it a lot. I've come to a point in my life where I can cut my work hours down. That helps. It helps a lot. Because most of the BS you have to deal with in your life comes from your job. There's no way around that. And people who have positions, they love to sit around, it seems like, and just think of ways to make things more difficult for the people who work for them. Or the HR companies do it. That could be their purpose. At any rate, I wanted to deal with this a little bit. I wanted to give you those two quotes. I also want to read to you one of my favorite quotes from a book, not a work of fiction, but by a fiction author, a very famous fiction author that most of you love, Ernest Hemingway. This book is called True at First Light. It was published posthumously, actually against his wishes, I believe. The first time I read this quote was in Men's Journal back in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. It was a great magazine back then. It's fallen from its former great state, even if it exists anymore. If any of you worked there, you heard me say it. I mean it. The quote: being properly scared as I was when out with the spear at night is a luxury that you have to pay for. And like the best luxuries, it is worth it most of the time. Mary G.C. and I had shared many luxuries, and some had been potentially expensive, but so far, all had been worth the price. It was the stupidities of daily life, with its unflagging erosion, that was not worth what it cost. So, even great hunters, great adventurers, notable people like Ernest Hemingway, who had a life that many people, a type of life that many people aspire to have, suffered from burnout. He also suffered from depression, mind you. That's worth considering. When we go through it, we know that we're not alone, that most of us deal with it. Of course, we see that, around us, in our workplaces, in our lives, we see it. I want to mention to you now a movie that actually deals with the subject of being burnt out and deals with it very well. If you have not seen it, the movie is called City Slickers. It's a comedy. Stars Billy Crystal and Jack Palance, among others. The movie is just written and put together perfectly. The main character, Billy Crystal, he's suffering from burnout. At the age of 30, by the way. I'm sure he, as well as I'll, look back at that and laugh now. 30. At any rate. Possibly it was 40. I may be mistaken on that note. But he's suffering from burnout. He's unhappy at his job. He and his friends go on these adventures. And these little adventures are usually put together by, I can't remember the character's name, played by Bruno Mars. And these three friends go on a cattle drive, starting in New Mexico and going to Colorado. It's a luxury that you have to pay for. A 2-week vacation, as it were. And they each have their own problems. Billy Crystal, burnout, as I said. His other friend, I'm really losing it now. I can't remember his name. Daniel something. He's the guy who narrates for the Wonder Years. Him and Billy Crystal and his friend Bruno Mars, they go on this thing. And they meet other people who are on it. A girl who, her friend didn't show up, didn't know if she wanted to go. A couple of black guys, a man and a son, and they're kind of having their own issues. Well, they go on the trail drive, and a lot of things begin to happen as they go on this drive. Jack Palance says a very interesting thing to Billy Crystal at one point when they're gathering stray cattle. He says, "You people come up here after getting knots tied in your rope for 50 weeks out of the year, and you think 2 weeks up here is going to untie them for you." Now that's ad-libbing a bit. But the odd thing is, it did untie a lot of knots for these people. Billy Crystal found out there were more important things going on in life. So he got over his burnout. He decided the cure for that was that he was not going to get another job. He was going to do his job better. His friend who had lost his wife and his kids, he got together with a single girl out there. The adventurer who always put these things together, he decided he was going to get his wife pregnant, which worried him, that scared him, because he saw that as a bigger commitment than marriage. The father and the son went on their own solo adventure, so to speak, because the cook got injured and had to be taken out to a doctor. And they volunteered for that. So, these people grew as this movie progressed. And they got over certain humps in their lives, certain areas where they were really being bogged down. So, if you get that way, you should watch this movie. I watch it often, especially when I am suffering from burnout. Sometimes, when, just for the entertainment value, obviously, but there are a lot of good messages in that. Here's another one, by the way. The character whose name I can't remember. They're all sitting around talking about baseball at one point at supper, and the girl is like, oh, baseball. And they're like, you don't like baseball? And she goes, no, I like baseball, but, I don't know who played this position, blah, blah. And they all answered. And she's like, see what I mean, basically. But she said her ex-boyfriend was like that, but they split up because they had different needs. She needed, I forget what she said she needed, actually. Probably, more attention, more companionship. He needed to clean out her bank account and leave. But the guy tells her that when he was around, when he was a teenager, and he and his dad could not communicate about anything, they could still talk about baseball. So, to me, I also think that it's important, even, especially with family members, but, with people that you're having difficulties with, you have to be able to have the baseball talk, if nothing else. So, those are a couple of good lessons to be learned from watching that movie. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Obviously, I appreciate all likes, comments, criticisms, follows. By the way, 3 new followers this week, as I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. And I say guys. Some people who follow me are actually women. That's great. It means a lot to me. I hope that I can continue to give you good content, something that you can enjoy and something that you can get stuff out of. I appreciate everything, guys. Thank you. Go out and enjoy the weather if you can. Have a good night.